Okay, so when it comes to moving on for the base, I did a little bit of prepping and we sanded down nice and smooth. Also what I had to do is I had to take the speaker out. There were these little pegs that were glued in the model kit, and the speaker slides into these, and that one's going to go there, but I didn't want the paint to damage the speaker, so I took the speaker out. So the plan is we're going to have the switch that's going to put the ship on, and we're going to have the button that's going to put the audio sound on. And I'm thinking that I'm going to rewire this speaker in, because the magnet's a lot bigger and this will be stronger. So let's put this stuff aside. Let me show you guys what we're actually going to put on the base. Now, let's just get this off the tree right now. I could use a little bit of sanding. That looks better. So this is the base, and this is what the ship's going to go on. So when we put it onto the base, we can't put it in the middle. Let me show you why. Because when we have the wrong way. When we have the wall on, and we put it too close to the wall, when the time comes to put the ship on, it's going to be hitting the wall. So we're going to have to put it out slightly. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to, this is the arm, incidentally, that's going to go under the ship. So I'm going to paint this. I'm not going to attach it to the base yet, because we're going to use that for the bottom of the ship when I do the clear coat and we put the decals on. So let's put her back aside for a moment. And back to the base. So that's why we're going to put it a little to the front, just a bit. So we'll put it right about there. So that looks good. Not quite where the where it's touching the front. Let's think about putting the back on first. You can see it's got the little tabs that are going to go in, and then it's going to rest on a little section. Got a lot of that stuff flying around from sanding, but it's going to go right there. So I think I'm going to use some of the super glue. We're going to see how that does. And what I want to do is we're going to put a line of the super glue where it's going to go, where it's going to make contact, rather. Just like that. So now when we put the backing on, we're going to line the tabs up just like that, and just like that it's going to go in. So when we turn it around, so I think I'm going to put a bead down the front. So let me hold it in place. And now we're going to do the Delta logo. I'm going to let it dry a bit. Okay. Let's take the arm off as well. We can put this back aside. You can see this is where the ship is going to rest on the arm. So we're going to hold that, and we're going to paint it. A couple of couple of nubs we got to get off. There, that looks good. All right, that's ready to go. So what I want to do now is we're actually going to put the logo, the base for the ship. You know what? Let me try to use the... See how it's going to rest on there? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it as an arm. So we're going to glue the Delta logo. There. Just like that. And like I said, we're going to put it in the center and a little bit towards the front. I'm going to make sure that that's centered now, or straight. That looks good. There. So now we got to wait for that to dry. So why don't we're going to hold off on doing anything else until the super glue dries and we got a good bond, and then we can think about painting it. Okay, it had some time to dry, and you can see this isn't glued on yet. You can see how the basic shape now is everything. Everything is formed. It's in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it. And I just want to take that shine off of the plastic. And we're going to paint this, and we're going to, like I said, we're going to use this to hold the ship. So I'm going to use, I like the Vallejo, and I think the primer is just fantastic. So we're going to use the compressor, so I'm going to take a little bit of the airbrush flow cleaner, or the improver, excuse me. I'm going to put just a little bit. Put the compressor on. Alright, so we're going to use a needle nose pliers, and I'm going to hold that. So let's put the paint in now. See, that's what Star Trek does to me. Okay, so we're going to take the arm, just like that now. I want to that looks pretty good. We can always paint another coat if we need to, but I'm going to put this aside now, and we're going to let that dry. Alright, now we're going to do the base. And I think I'm going to start with the top. Do the sides. And now we'll do the front. And remember, there's going to be the cardboard space background that's going to go there. So that looks pretty good. If we need to put another coat later on, we will. But in the meantime, let's start doing the bass. So we're gonna use the light as a gauge. That looks pretty good. We can always put more if we need to. That looks pretty nice. Alright, let's do this side now. Yeah. Looking pretty sweet. Alright, now we can go ahead and do the bottom. See, it almost has like a gray texture. It is black. It's just not as black as the bass. See how it almost looks like it was made? I'm talking about the bass, the Delta insignia. There. So I'm gonna let this cure for a couple of days, and then we'll come back. And what I'm gonna do is, I already planned out, we're gonna put the original speaker back in, and then we're gonna wire it. We're gonna solder it, and we're going to run it to the other speaker that's on the circuit board, and we're going to actually attach the speaker somewhere under here, and we're going to run the speaker through that. Both speakers will have it a more solid sound, because Leonard Nimoy, his voice, he doesn't speak very loudly, so we want to be able to hear him. Okay, so it's been just about 36 hours since we put the coats on, and you can see it's nicely cured. I think it looks, it adds a nice contrast as opposed to the shine that it had before. So what we need to think about doing is we're actually gonna paint the Delta logo. That's gonna be gold. And well, actually, the first thing I want to do is we're gonna think about putting the electronics in. All right, so we're gonna get the flux. We're gonna get the solder. And the first thing I want to do is we're going to solder the leads to the speaker. So what I want to do is we're going to put the flux, and what the flux does is it actually helps the solder stick to the wire. Okay, so we got it soldered on, and first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that they work. So let me actually demonstrate to you guys what it's going to sound like. So you remember what it sounds like with one speaker.
So what? There was a scene in which the ship was being threatened by some outside problem, outside dangerous force. And there was a lot of activity on the ship. Yeah.
Now we're going to hook up the other speaker. And let's see if I can just hold it in place to show you guys what it's going to sound like.
The final frontier.
So with both of them on, you can really tell the difference. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to solder these into place as well right now. We'll put some flux onto the wires and a little bit of flux onto the area that we're going to solder. So now that they're soldered, let me show you guys what it's going to sound like with the both speakers. So let's gently turn it around. So let's push the button.
So I said to the director, I think we should have some special greeting that Balkans do. Because, you know, humans, we have these rituals, the things that we do. We shake hands, we nod to each other, we bow to each other.
See how much better?
What do Balkans do? So I suggest...
I think that's all we need to solder for now. Because remember, we still have to put the ship wires through, and that's going to go onto the circuit board. That's going to be underneath. We're going to do that later with the ship. So what I want to do now is get the base set up with the electronics for the audio part. All right. So you remember we had taken off one of the supports for the speaker. So bear with me. What we're going to do now is we're going to glue the piece back. So let's make sure we have this nice and positioned. That looks good. I think we're going to super glue it as opposed to using a glue gun on that. So what this is designed to do is this is designed to adhere. See, right over here is where we're going to drill. So let's just like that. Beautiful. So that fits right through. Okay. See, just like that. And what we're going to do, the wires are going to come through, and it's going to be just like that. Just like that.
Space, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise. Their ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone.
See how much better that sounds and how loud it is? So we got a little bit of the glue. So what I want to do now is we're going to start to hot glue everything into place. And there's actually an adhesive that we're going to use. So what I want to do is I want to put this back here. Because remember, we got to drill through for the ship still. So hopefully you guys can see that. So I want to make sure that these wires are going to be totally safe. Nothing's going to pull them out. The power pack can go right here. We'll hot glue it into place, and that way there we'll be able to pull it off when we need. Okay, so you guys can see the glue. We got the wire coming from the speaker out of the way. We have the switch that's wired and glued. What I want to do now is we're going to actually glue the power pack in. Also, I want to put some over here. All right. There. So what we got to think about doing now is the background. Now, when it comes to the background on the original kit, it was actually, I believe it was actually like that. So this is how the instructions had said to put it on. But because I would rather have it this way, how we got the space on top, and that's only because, let me bring her out for a minute. So when we bring her out, remember, she's going to be right about here. And I'd rather have the space on top where you can look over the bridge and see the star background as opposed to seeing the nebula. So I think we're going to do it this way. That looks pretty wild. Okay. So we got the electronics in, we got the background up, and when it comes to painting it, I think the only thing that I really want to paint is the Delta logo. I thought about just leaving it black, but you know, I think it'll look better if it's painted gold. I think we're going to have to put multiple coats on here. Okay, so let me show you guys. That's after one coat. That looks pretty good. And again, this is the acrylic paint. I think, I don't know, maybe lacquer base would have been a little better looking the way it's looking. So I think that looks pretty good. We got the gold Delta insignia, and the stand is going to go right in. Okay, so we had painted the base. While we prepped it, we sanded it down, and we painted it. Next thing we did was we put the electronics in the bottom. So the circuit board that I put the sound files on had its own speaker, and I decided that we needed a little more juice for it, so I hooked it up to the speaker that was originally with the AMT Enterprise Incident Model Kit. We soldered the leads into the wires. We soldered everything, and then we hot glued it to the bottom of the board. Then we had to drill over here to put the button in, and then we hot glued the button in place. So that way there, all we got to do is push the button. This is going to be the switch that's going to activate the lights on the ship. So then we did the Delta logo. So the base is pretty much done. The only thing we have to do now is Once we mount the ship on, we're going to drill a hole and we're going to have to run the wires through to the circuit board underneath, and we'll hot glue that in place. But that's that'll be after we finish the ship. So let me give you guys a demonstration of the base.
Space, the final frontier. These are the continuing voyages of the starship Enterprise. Their ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
The second one.
So I said to the director, I think we should have some special greeting that Vulcans do. Because he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, humans, we have these rituals, things that we do. We shake hands, we nod to each other, we bow to each other, we salute each other. What do Vulcans do? So I suggested this. He said, okay. And that's how we did it as a greeting, a Vulcan greeting. Boy, that just took off through the culture. It was amazing. Within days after it was on the air, I was getting it on the street. People doing this to me, waving to me in this Vulcan gesture. That's interesting. And it's been that way to this day. It's almost 50 years later. People are still doing it.
And lastly,
there was a scene in which the ship was being threatened by some outside problem, outside dangerous force. And there was a lot of activity on the ship. The captain was saying, do such and such, press this button, do this, warp 3, get us out of here, and so forth. Other people are reacting and scurrying around. And I think I'm remembering correctly that Spock had one word to say, and the word was fascinating. And we're looking at this thing on the screen. You know, everybody else is reacting. Oh, look at it, blah, 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 blah. And I got caught up in that energy, and I said, fascinating. And the director said, gave me a brilliant note, and said, be different, be the scientist, be detached. See it as something that's a curiosity rather than a threat. Thank you. I said, fascinating. Well, a big chunk of the character was born right there.
so I am very happy with the base. I love the board, the sound effects, all of the files that I had wanted. If you guys are curious how I put the files on to the board, I did a video on it, and I'm doing a whole playlist on the U.S.S. Nimoy. So my friends, that's this far in the build. I wanted to get the base done, so the base is all set. So the next video we're going to actually start to clear coat and decal the U.S.S. Nimoy, and we'll use the decals that I had gotten. So my friends, until the next video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.